Hello, hello, beautiful people, mi gente bella. Welcome to another edition of Santana Says, where we talk about everything from roadblocks to relationships, everything in between, and the overall journey of life. I'm excited as always to bring you another edition of the show, but also just another great conversation. And it's funny because I was actually about to say, and another wonderful guest, because I've been bringing guests, y'all, like forever. Like these last couple of episodes, you haven't heard just my voice for a little while. So, it's time to do that. But also, it's episode 21. What? So we just had 20 wonderful episodes that we, have been able to have. And listen, if you are rocking with me still, if you are getting to know me now, I need you to know how grateful I am. First of all, 21, you know what I mean? So we're a little grown out here now with the podcast. But also it just means that we've already been able to have a couple chapters. And so we are going to be making a few changes. You'll probably see a little bit more of me and all that, as well as still interacting with guests. And really also, I want to give y'all more opportunities to interact with me because I've been putting out that challenge to y'all in little ways. And the last one I did was quite some time ago. But I have had people reach out. Right. And so I want to start off with that is that I love that. And I can't wait to really make that more of what I do full time, to be honest, is just being available to help others, advocate for others, like as I always already do, in other spaces. But I can't wait until that is what I do all the time. I have plans, y'all, that I will be sharing with you as I continue to develop them and how I plan to do that. But in the meantime, definitely know that it's been great. Like the support that I've already received. I have met some incredible people just by having the podcast alone already in these little 20, episodes, like I said, that we've already had. I have met some incredible folks. A lot of the guests that we had on the show, most of them, like our most recent guests, as I mentioned on that episode, was someone who actually saw the podcast and reached out. So we connected on social media that way. But as I had mentioned on that episode, it was actually somebody I had also met in another way, but became a podcast guest after showing support for the podcast and wanting Santana Says to be a part of an event she was having. And so if you haven't already checked that one out, but I mean, obviously I'm biased because it's my podcast. Obviously, I would love for you to check out any episode. You know what I mean? If you haven't already, like, please let me know what you think. But you have definitely gotten to know already, and you will continue, but you've definitely gotten to know a lot of people that I have just always grown up just admiring, just loving, supporting, vibing with, and already having great conversations. And so I'm just so glad that they shared their time. And that it's allowed me to meet other people that are heavy hitters in the community as well. So I've met some board chairs. I have met some individuals who are starting great projects. I have met some survivors, as well. And that is always going to be the most heart touching to me, that if anybody reaches out to me and feels that they feel comfortable enough to share something that has occurred to them based on what they've seen, with the podcast, based on any work that I've done out or anything like that. I don't think I can possibly put into words how much that means to me, because I know how much courage that takes, to even want to share your story with anyone, but let alone someone like me that maybe you had a prior relationship with, because some of the people that reached out were individuals that I already knew, but there have been people that have reached out that I was meeting for the first time, and they let me know that it was difficult for them to make that step, but they felt comfortable, hearing what it was that I was sharing, what it was that I knew about, and how it is that I presented it. So that meant everything to me, because that's what I want. That is exactly why I started the podcast in the first place, was because I wanted to have more in-depth but also accessible conversations. I do not want them to feel like we're talking about tough topics that anyone can relate to. I want it to be anybody at any level, because, and when I say that, I want to be clear that means professionals, but also just people that, any type, the people that stay at home, that may not be in the traditional workforce. Because anybody that's at home, if you're taking care of kids or if you take care of your household, you're doing great work. So I just want to be clear on, it's anybody in any place of their life, but also anybody that's in any stage mentally as well. So I know that I might be speaking to some folks who are like, yes, I absolutely have conversations about this all the time. That resonates with me because I'm always talking about that. For others, if it's like the first time you've actually heard about this and you're like, that's actually given me food for thought. I had not considered that maybe it's something I should incorporate into my daily practice. Or if it's people who are still figuring it out, they have no idea. And some of the things that we've talked about has sparked something. Other things is still being waited to be developed. I applaud all of that, and you are all welcome here. You will always have a space here. You can pull up a seat at the couch, and rock with me, because I love that. Like I said, we can do that in those different ways. And I love that. I've been following. YouTube is an interesting place, but those who have been following me on YouTube, I appreciate it. I've definitely seen more views on the, different videos that we've had. So shout out to anybody that has ever seen a video, clicked on it, shared it. Whatever you did, I appreciate it, because I definitely been seeing like low growth here and there. So I'm like, all right, look at that. And then on the audios, please. I know that I have had so many different people from different platforms there. And so I'm glad that, if you could be listening to anything, you have chosen to listen to Santana Says. That is something I am immensely grateful for and just honored. I'm really just honored to even be able to talk about any of these things. It really does make me feel good, y'all. And we've talked a lot about mental health and different things we do to make us feel good. This makes me feel great, y'all. I do not regret starting this. I've gained so much from doing it, and this is why whenever I get my chance, y'all, right, to get on my little soapbox and be here solo, I'm always going to share with y'all some word of encouragement, because I don't think I can tell y'all enough how much I need y'all to step into, your own purpose and really find whatever drives you, because this has been such an alignment for me. I feel like, one, it comes easily because I'm like, wow, it's something I really did always want to do. And when I do it, I feel good doing it. But then the feedback that I've been getting has been wonderful, because it's not just that people are telling me that, oh, like, you're doing it well, and like, I like how you're doing it. They're also letting me know what you're touching on is good and it's impactful, and that's what matters to me, right? Not just the way I'm delivering the messages, not just whatever it is that I'm touching on, but that, it's being received in a way that can help someone. And that's always going to be my goal here, outside of here, and anywhere else. And so I feel like it's time to do a little recap. I mean, we didn't had, like I said, a lot of people. We've talked about a lot. And most recently we had, prior to our, last guest who, community champion, childhood advocate out here doing all the things. We also had a Dope Dad series. And what I think, and prior to that, we had our first males that had ever been on the show. And I think that it was amazing, right? To be it for me, anyway, it's to hear that males entering the conversation of mental health. Not that they are the only males, right? Not that they're the first males, but just how remarkable it is to have those conversations in a world where that is not normal. I mean, I would like we've talked about, men do not always have these conversations. Men are not celebrated for having these conversations. Men are not given their flowers enough for what they do and the weights that they have to carry. Of course, I'm always going to salute my fellow women, because like I told you, and we'll get to that, in just a second. But like I said, I do think that we're in a world, and I do want to recognize too, right, that we're also in a world where it's not just men and women, right? We live amongst people that understand that sometimes we also exist as very fluid beings. Some people do not ascribe to the traditional gender roles. And I'm glad that we're having more conversations about that also, right? And that we can challenge the fact that we're allowed to just exist however we want to exist. We don't need to be ridiculed for that. We do not need to be judged for that or analyzed because of that. We should just be able to exist in a world. I was actually having a conversation with someone today about existing, and just being able to just be yourself and being able to just be your authentic self. And so I love that everybody that I have brought on the show and anybody that I've met, including the person that I was talking to today, and shout out to Wonderful Partnerships. Hopefully it's future guests on the show. I'll have to let them know and see if they're interested. But being able to do that in a world where so many times you're really told to sometimes, mask what you have going on, or that you have to show up a certain way or act accordingly. We talked about like the military, for example, and the many rules that it takes. Military is not the only one, but it is an excellent example of you having to abide by certain rules and you having to definitely follow strict policies. And so showing up in a certain way. Now, some people are very grateful for those experiences, right? Because they're able to rise to the occasion. They gain a lot of great benefit from it. So this is not an opportunity to bash that. I'm saying that it is. It's its own entity with its own benefits. I'm simply saying that when one is exposed to that, though, something that is that strict, there are also consequences that can happen from that. A lot of benefits that you can stand to gain with anything that you get involved in, but also there are some consequences to doing that. And whenever you're programmed in any way as well. And so we do take in a lot in our world, and men do too. You know, they are definitely, I think that we have absolutely challenged gender roles a lot, especially in today's society. You know, men are not always, don't have to fit certain things. I mean, there are a lot of women that are part of the workforce. There are a lot of, you know, different roles being split as far as parenting is concerned, as far as like different jobs that are held and all of those different things. But when it comes to emotions, we're still not at the point where we have fully accepted it, because, you know, for example, like even I'm blanking on his full name, but I know like he used to be on Everybody Hates Chris. He was on Abbott Elementary. You know, I'm gonna shout him out. You know, so like also like one of the stars. I'll have to look up his name to make sure. You know what I'm saying? But like he definitely was an individual too that was just recently ridiculed, or people were trying to ask whether or not he was gay, for example, is what it was. And so you know, he came out publicly and said that he was not. That he was in fact not gay, but that the fact that individuals were trying to find out whether he was, he let people know how problematic that was. Like, why is it that you're just trying to like catch me? You know what I mean? As if, and not just like in a lie, but like catch me in some kind of like gender trap. Like it was just weird. It was like people were, you know, very excited to see whether or not he was gay, but also like really quick to want to point out that, okay, but even if you're not, well, you don't follow like traditional way, you don't do things that men traditionally do, as if we know what that is. Like are men not allowed to explore, you know, their individuality? Are men not allowed to be emotional? Are men not allowed to be vulnerable? Are they not allowed to do that? And I feel like we live in a world where as soon as they do, we ridicule them. We ridicule them for it, and we make them feel inadequate for doing it, or expressing it, or showing it. And so that is just, I definitely think that that's such an incredible burden to bear. And it's hard, because I, for one, am a person who would like to have a partner. Understandably, I would like to have, you know, a strong partner. I don't necessarily want someone that can't hold their own, because I feel like, you know, I face a lot of difficulties in my life, and I'm not a person that easily falls apart when there is a problem, but I do still have emotions, you know, and I would like to know that whoever I'm with, which in my case will most likely be some kind of male, you know, just because, not that that's like, because it has to be, it's just, that just so happens to be what I may be attracted to, but knowing that we live in a world where that doesn't have to be the case either. You know, you're allowed to just be with whoever you want to be with, and, you know, be happy doing so. In my case, I want my partner to definitely be somebody that I can like collapse in their arms, you know, if I'm having a rough day, and that, you know, that even though that goes against the fact that I'm very strong and I do all these great things, that they're okay with me still having moments where I don't have it all together, you know, and that they are not going to judge me for that, but like provide me comfort. I would like to do that in turn for any person that I'm with. I do not want them to feel like they have to hold it together all of the time, and that I'm only interested in being with them when they do that and fulfill that. That they cannot be figuring it out, that they can't sometimes be a mess, and that they can't sometimes be vulnerable. Me personally, I know that I'm not speaking for everyone, because there are some individuals who do not agree with that, and they do feel like there are certain things that they would like certain genders to ascribe to, and certain behaviors that we should abide by. But I definitely, for one, feel like we need to let that go, and we definitely need to applaud it. So I definitely want to applaud each and every man that took the time to be on the show, like I said, along with all the other great guests that we have absolutely had, and all the topics that we have already addressed, but also with the, you know, concluding thoughts as far as like the men are concerned. I think that it was amazing that many of them were willing to talk about how they entered into relationships where the individual may have already had a child. And I actually got some feedback, you know, just so y'all know, that there were some individuals that did not agree with it. Not surprisingly, right? But they actually felt like the individual who shared that was lost, that he actually did not have direction, and that he must not really know what he wants, since he entered into a relationship with someone that already had a child. And I guess they were alluding to the fact that maybe he should know that he deserves better. He doesn't have to be in that kind of situation. And I found it intriguing, because I remember being nothing but impressed with the fact that he chose to enter into a situation, you know, and take on a role that he did not have to take on, you know, and eventually build a family with this person. I think that those kind of things are commendable. And there are a lot of men in this world who do that, like who may enter women also, but definitely men who have also entered spaces where they weren't necessarily the father of a person's child, and they had to take on knowing what it was like to be a bonus parent, but then also still navigating the relationship with the person that they're in a relationship with, and carrying that dual role of like wanting to cultivate a healthy relationship with their partner, but also being a good influence on the child, but also recognizing that they're not the biological parent, so that there might be some limitations with that, and knowing how to navigate that, be respectful of that, but then still grow and cultivate it. Like, it's just, I think that's just an incredible thing to even, waters to even travel on. And so anybody that does that is amazing. But then we also talked about a lot of people who have been community advocates, like our other father, who not only is a great dad to his own children, but like has been such an incredible influence to so many individuals in the community, and does it with a smile, will finds joy in it, quite frankly, and I just feel like there have been some times where I don't necessarily feel least productive when I'm not doing boom, boom, like one thing after another. I think I have felt my least productive when I haven't been giving back. At least me. And so there have been times where I feel like those will be the only times where I beat myself up if I feel like I haven't been doing enough or out there, to be honest. And that definitely is a change, right? Like, I think I have heard from individuals who feel like, if they don't, even though they want rest or anything like that, they still beat themselves up, right, for not being productive enough, or like being tired, again, not knowing that our bodies do talk to us and let us know these things. But I know for me, I also gain so much from being out in the community that when I get too busy and I'm unable to do that, I feel imbalanced, to be honest. And I love like switching that up. So even recently I was able to take my daughters to the Shalom Tranquility Garden. So shout out to the Shalom Tranquility Garden here in Cleveland, Miss Ebony. And so for those who don't know, please check it out. But anybody that has community gardens of that nature, we also happen to go to the Barrio Boy Garden not too long ago as well. And again, these are community gardens, y'all. So these individuals have created gardens that the entire community can enjoy. They're literally growing plants, that other people can cultivate. They're not just doing it for themselves. They put on programs in these gardens. They're, putting on events. But I mean, just pouring into the community, with something that could just be for them. I know some people love gardening as their own self-care tool, but these individuals are literally putting on events that other people can take part in, and they're literally opening up their own spaces in their hearts, like literally. Like, that is what they do on a regular basis. Those kind of things I feel like can never get any more salute from me. You know what I mean? I just think those are incredible efforts. And I just think it's, amazing when we can see more individuals doing that. And I think sometimes I do think it's a challenge for us to consider how can we also enter those spaces and really help others more. Are there opportunities to do that in small ways or in bigger, but just how are we existing in this world? Existing, right? Because like I said, I think that's a great thing to just be yourself, and love yourself. Like, and for real, not lying, not temporarily. No, like every day, loving yourself. Every day, celebrating yourself. But every day, knowing that because you exist in the world and there are other people here, how can I make sure that I'm good, and help myself? But what is one way? Like, what is there at least one way where I can help someone else? Or I can like uplift someone else? Where I can support or give advice to someone else? Where I can help someone else with their project? It costs nothing to do that, but there is a lot of great impact, and there are a lot of people who would be so grateful to know that you just simply want to help, and even if you don't know how, you just reaching out and being like, hey, I think your project is dope. I don't know exactly how I want to help you, but I just would like to, because I just would like to see it grow, and because I just believe enough in what it is that you're doing and would like to see that, continue to grow, to become something greater and move forward further. I just think it's amazing, and I just, even with me, if somebody reaches out and is like, hey, I just wanted to learn more about your podcast, or I wanted to do that. And I actually have had people reach out also with wanting to be on it. So shout out to you. I'm glad that you are seeing. I have a couple things lined up, but, eventually we can make sure that we can, get to all the people. But again, your feedback is always welcome. So like, even if I can't get you on, I mean, if you're engaging with the content and you have anything to share with me, let me know. You know what I'm saying? Let me know what we could be addressing. Let me know what's resonating. I love hearing that. I love knowing that, like I said, we're doing something that's helping. But we also had a dad who also talked about his advocacy in how he was wronged, at some points. And again, that's something that sometimes we do, again, not just with males, but like in general, where we expect them to be angry. We do that a lot with women too, where we expect them to have the attitudes to carry all these things, and to react in certain ways. And sometimes I fall victim to it, right? I'm human. I had a moment today where I reacted in a way that I didn't need to. But because we're human, because that is the point. We do react. It's very hard to channel that sometimes and to keep that in place, but it is a worthy thing to work on, because obviously we can't always just give our own reactions. But this particular person talked about how they were wronged by the police, and like, again, something that's meant, an entity that is supposed to exist to protect us. He was wronged by them on more than one occasion, might I add. And I recently learned about an individual who had locked themselves out of their car, was trying to get back inside, contacted the police to get assistance, and it led to them being in jail. Now, obviously, I don't know all the details. I don't know if this person got an attitude. I don't know if, some words were exchanged. I don't know those details. But what I can say is, knowing that that is where it started and that it ended with jail just doesn't seem to line up for me. I just think that sometimes we do wrongfully punish individuals that we shouldn't, when we should be helping them. And I think that sometimes we rush to judgment on individuals that just need acceptance or just need to be heard. And I think sometimes too, there have definitely been profiling that happens, right? Not just by police, but we do it also. Like sometimes we do rush to judgment on certain individuals. We assume that we know things about certain individuals, and we don't always take the opportunity to really find out more about them and ask questions instead of just assuming, what might be happening. Like that definitely has occurred in more than one instance. And I know that for me, when I was talking to this individual, it reminded me that when I said that, as I started to learn about many things, I became very angry about it. If you all recall, for me, that definitely occurred in college, because I remember somebody let me know about the corruption that was taking place in Puerto Rico. And remember being very upset. But I wasn't just upset because of what I was learning. I mean, that was a big piece. As I'm unfolding it and learning about my history, I'm realizing that like so many things have happened there. There's been so much corruption, and like there aren't enough people fighting against it. I remember being very frustrated about that, but I also remember being frustrated because I had to find out about this. Like I had to seek it out. It wasn't being readily given. That information was not being readily given. And that was almost more infuriating than the information itself. Like, why did I have to dig this out? Why wasn't this just readily known? Why were there individuals working hard to hide this information instead of sharing it with others so then we can do with it whatever we please? Now, I know now, right, that there are certain agendas behind that. There are many reasons why information is hidden, and why we do that, because there are some people that stand to gain a lot more by us not knowing, right? Because what's interesting is that if we do know, we're probably going to do something about it. If we do know certain information, we're going to band together and we're going to empower one another, and we're probably going to fight back against it. And so that's why I need you to know that that's another reason why this podcast was made. I want to join the many individuals who are actually sharing information versus hiding it. I want to be part of the people that are empowering other people instead of bringing them down. And I want to be part of the people who are helping others to become their wonderful, authentic, and free selves. We are never going to get tired of talking about freedom. And even though we live in a country where we have a lot of freedoms, we have access to home ownership in these beautiful United States of America. We have access to like careers, and independent ventures that we're able to do. We're allowed to be entrepreneurs. We can do all these great things, which is wonderful. But there's still a lot of things that hold us captive. And there are a lot of times where we hold ourselves captive with everything that we have in front of us. And with all the multitude of opportunities that we have, there are still times where we do that to ourselves. And I want to be part of the individuals to helping you break free from that, and letting you know I will never get tired of reminding individuals of how much they matter and how much they deserve to fight against those things so that they do not feel captive to that, and that your voice is important. Like there are things that you have to contribute to the world, and I want you to do that in whatever setting that you do that. So again, shout out to all the professors out there who are challenging, great college students, all the high school teachers who have all these great teens and have to cultivate these great minds, all the people that have these great businesses and are encouraging others to do it, people that started the businesses and are now business coaches, and helping people to figure out what it is to do that and like how we can figure that out. Shout out to the individuals that have been on the show that have helped people to realize that it's okay to take a chance on yourself, you know what I mean? And to go out there and believe in it. But it takes a lot, right? Because it's hard. It is hard to believe in yourself, especially if you haven't always had that kind of source of support and encouragement, but also if you haven't seen success or you're still working to acquire it. If you haven't seen it, it's going to be especially hard for you to believe that success is out there because, you may not have seen it, or maybe you're still defining it. So that's the thing too, right? Is that some of us have already experienced success, I would say even in my own life. But I feel like I'm still redefining that all the time, however, though, right? Like I don't feel like it's this destination that I'm just going to get to one day and that's it. I think there's so much more I want to do. However, in my life, I choose to be intentional about not wanting to be motivated just by the success. A lot of the things that I have done, and there's been many ventures that I have added, including this podcast, it's not because I want to get to a certain place, but it's who I would like to reach. Everything that I have done in my life, that's how I move. It's just, how can I increase the impact that I'm having on other people, and what are spaces that I can infiltrate so that grows, and that there's more healing conversations that I can have, more individuals that I can touch, and more people that I can inspire. Is there a way for me to do that? Because every time I do that, the other thing about it is I stand to gain so much every time. And I've already gained so much for the individuals that have been on the show. But again, every life that I've ever touched, I've also felt that way. And so with that being said, I also would like to say that, so again, shout out, I'm so sorry I'm blanking on his name, but again, shout out to the celebrities that also take stands and who use their platforms to challenge thoughts on, even gender, like even gender expression, gender roles, all the guests that we've had, including the males who have added a unique perspective or like just a richer perspective, right? Because like any individual that's been on here has been phenomenal, but like just adding into the conversation in that way. But also with everything going on in the world, shout out to those who are, growing in their own confidence, and letting it be known that, it is okay to be yourself. I know that interesting time to talk about like Keke, but I know there was interest, very recently, we had debates about the whole Keke Palmer situation and whether or not she was right or wrong with her partner. But I remember just being more struck by the fact that it just let me know that communication was not present. Like, this was a good time it was just a perfect example of how in a relationship, there are certain things that probably should be kept private, and there are certain things that are okay to be public. Not many though. My list of things that are okay to be public would be very small for me. I actually applaud people like Issa Rae. She popped out with a fiance, and I had no idea who this man was. And I was like, wow, how incredible is that? Because Issa Rae is very well known by many. If you don't know Issa Rae, I'm surprised because she's pretty great. And, she's in the Barbie movie that is coming out. But I've been following her forever. But I definitely found it incredibly remarkable that we didn't even know she was in a relationship until she basically was getting married, essentially, for me. I mean, that was the first time I found out. So I think that, wow, for you to keep that under wraps is wonderful. It's the kind of announcement I would love to be able to do one day, just pop out with a ring. That'd be great. Like, if I could just skip those steps, I think that'd be awesome. But again, it was just remarkable that she was able to do that, and even with the spotlight on her, she was able to still protect something. And I think that that's what I did not see happen in the Keke Palmer situation, is that the minute she was ridiculed publicly by her partner, there was so many things wrong with that part, no matter what it is that she did. I'm not trying to get into the debates of that part. I just feel like whenever there's a disagreement, there are other ways to handle that. And I love how individuals on the show have spoken to that, and how, communication is important, and making sure that you know who it is that you're talking to, and like communicating in your partner's language, in their love language, but also in their apology language as well. So like, if we don't already know about those, I got hip to those as well. But apology languages are also a thing. Being able to admit when you're wrong is also a thing. And so like, us coming to terms with that and being able to actually have more conversations about that and really just delving into that is helpful. And then speaking of wrongs, I definitely think that most recently, the Carly Russell situation, for those who are unaware, this was somebody that there was a lot of media coverage on this person going missing. She was a woman. And unfortunately, there's a lot of evidence pointing to the fact that she is now lying. I'm not going to confirm or deny that because I wasn't there. I don't know exactly what happened. All I can say is that that's this is another one of those times where it's just good to remind ourselves that there are individuals that lie, though. This is definitely an example of it. When Jussie Smollett also lied. He was another celebrity that concocted a whole kidnapping, unfortunately, I believe is what it was. We found out later that it was false, so there's no one, as the advocate that I am, and as the person, the violence prevention advocate that I will always be, and all of that, you're never going to hear me, as I have said in the past, that people do not lie. I just don't want that to become an excuse why we don't need to help others, right? And why we don't need to still focus on those who are in need of assistance. So like Jussie Smollett, when he first did it, yes, that was unfortunate, but there are people that are persecuted who it really does happen to them. And what was unfortunate was just that took away from that. With the Carly Russell situation, same thing. I think that if anything, it was just wonderful that it finally got a lot of coverage and that we were responding to something in real time when there have been many times where we have not done that. I'm going to continue to say Breonna Taylor's name, for as long as I'm living, because, she also, for example, did not get that same response. There have been so many other individuals, and some of them are no longer alive like her, to now speak for themselves and to get some kind of support. So I just feel like I don't ever want individuals not being honest to be the reason why we no longer shed light on individuals who do need assistance, or make it seem like because of that it discredits every single other person that might come forward in the future about something like that, and including violence too, because let's be clear, there's also many people that come forward about abuse. I know that there was people going back and forth about he was in the movie. He's now currently with Megan Good, but her partner, essentially, and what was going on there. But again, no matter what we do know to be true and what we don't, what I do want it to be clear is that these things do happen. And so, people do go missing. There are people that are persecuted, and there are a lot of people facing violence in our world. And when we say things like just existing and just living, when somebody is actually might be going home to abuse and might be getting ridiculed or just put down in so many ways, it's incredibly difficult for that person to exist in the world when that's what's happening to them. And it's going to be very hard for that person to put themselves together when they've been broken down in those kind of ways. And so that is why it's helpful for us to not make it seem like those things don't happen. And when that person does come forward, that, yeah, we do offer some kind of assistance, and, whatever it may be, in whatever hand we can, or that we direct them to someone else who can provide the help, doing that, and offering more compassion, because we definitely could stand to live in a world with more love. Of course, you're always going to hear that from me, but also we could stand to live in a world with more compassion. I think that we also make it seem like as soon as somebody makes a mistake, that's it, we're done. Cancel culture, we are over that person, as if people are not allowed to mess up, as if people are not allowed to have setbacks, and as if people are not allowed to always get it right, to not get it right sometimes. No, people don't always have the right answers. No, people do not always say the right things, and no, people don't always do the right thing either, or choose the right action. They don't always choose that. We can always challenge ourselves to do that, but it isn't always what takes place. So I definitely think that, we could definitely work on those things, I'm saying, to figure it out. And so, as we enter a new season of this podcast, but also of our lives, I know that summertime is always an interesting time. Those of y'all, I know not everybody's from Cleveland, so, we've been having incredible weather and all that. So I don't know, everybody that's listening from different areas, just know that it's been rough out here, y'all. It's been hard. I haven't been outside as much as I wanted to. The rain it's been all, different times. There have been some times where I am able to be outside, and it's been great and grounding, but it's been a little difficult. So I know it can be an interesting journey, but for those of us who do get to have a fall, pretty soon we will be entering the fall season. But again, in our lives, we're always entering new seasons, right? And we're always, continuing to develop and do different things. So as we do that, please let me know, how I can be a resource. Please consider how you can be a resource to yourself, but also please consider how you can be a resource to others. Who can you pour into today? How can you, make sure that you're still pouring into yourself, but, who can you reach out to? Who have you not spoken to in a while? What project have you not poured into? What interests have you neglected? Which part of your life have you not addressed, that maybe does need addressing? Like spring cleaning them past. But again, you can do summer. It don't matter when it is, because also I don't want us to ever think that it's ever too late to do things, like to dust yourself off, to try something new, to restart something that maybe you hadn't finished or you had considered. There's no things on that. There is no rules on that. And we're always allowed to redefine ourselves, rediscover ourselves, and restart. Be allowed to do it anytime, at any point that we want to. So I encourage you to do that. But I encourage you, like I said, to connect with me, tap in, let me know how things are going, what it is that you like. I mean, if there's things that you don't like, as well, I'm open to any feedback, but, taking all of them as constructively as possible, as well. But like I said, I especially encourage those who have gained things from the show, especially supporters. Please reach out. Let me know what things are happening, what we can be discussing, and I'll be asking you more about that on social media, which, by the way, if you do not have it, it is Santana Says with 1_ on Instagram. It is Santana Says on Facebook. There is a page that you can like. And then on TikTok, it's also Santana Says with 1_ I'm on there, y'all. So in case you need to, catch up, see little, clippets from the show, all of, most of them there. I'm also going to be trying to add more content on that. But then also, if you ever want to reach out via email, this wasn't always the case. At first, I have been sharing with y'all my personal email, but there is an official Santana Says email, which is Santana Says Podcast at gmail.com. Again, Santana Says Podcast at gmail.com. And I haven't had a chance to share that because I've mostly been letting a lot of our guests share their own emails and their own ways for you to get in contact with them. So if you want to tap in with your girl, the one, like I said, thanks for holding me down. You can do it any of those ways, whatever is most comfortable for you. But again, feel free, please, because, be encouraged to do it. I welcome it. And I definitely want to hear from you and tap in with you. So look out for more, y'all. Look out, continue to tap in and celebrate yourself because, I for sure am doing it. I'm proud of you. I think you're great. So if this is your reminder for today, take it, use it. But know that I appreciate you and I look forward to connecting with you. Thank you.